Do you know someone named T-Bird? He had a friend who shouldn't have played with knives. Like the coat?
With the guy that murdered Tintin.
He was already dead. He died a year ago, the moment he touched me. They're all dead. They just don't know it yet.
All right, welcome back to the Scare Value Podcast. There may or may not have been a clip in front of us.
I have no idea. I petted the cat.
If things sound different, it's because we're trying to record differently, and if they don't, get your fucking ears checked, because they definitely sound different.
Yeah, they should.
Kitty's here.
I'm not.
Hello.
Pete's here too.
Sort
He's here against his will.
Explain what's going on a little bit before we get started. How are we recording? How is this magic made?
Well, we're trying to do it online because two of us have children.
Guess which two?
Mm-hmm.
Is it me and you?
I think it is.
All right.
So?
Cool.
I didn't want to tell you, but you're the father.
Anymore.
No, she got off the hook.
I know. I feel that that's not right somehow, but she seems so happy.
Why are you and your children in my house? Get out.
Well, you're the only one that makes money. The three of us. You're gonna let them kids starve.
You were just telling me you had a job and you had to give a resume for it.
I do, but it's like I don't work there that often.
I know.
Okay, I do this.
Yeah.
I figure out how to record online.
He gets a paycheck too.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Oh,
hey, we're all doing great,
mm-hmm.
And we're here to talk about the 30th anniversary of The Crow, a movie that you'd think Pete would like because of his love of crows, but as it turns out, he's another Debbie Downer on this one.
He's the only one that doesn't like it.
Well, first off, I didn't like it when I saw it when it came out in the theater, and that was however many years ago that was.
I would say 30 based on what I just said.
All right. You think so? You think it was that long ago? I don't know if that's true or not, but that was the last time I saw it. And I remember walking out of that movie not liking it very much. All I remember thinking is it's goth. It's so much goth, and I don't like goth apparently. But you all apparently like it. Why?
You still don't like it? Because you watched it again.
No,
it seems like you're bearing a lead here.
I'm curious what you guys thought of it.
All right. Well,
I don't want to reveal what I think of it now.
Okay. Well, this
he
episode.
Doesn't like it. I revealed it.
I don't know if I like my kids being in the house with this madman.
Luckily, I'm here.
Yes,
I don't know why.
At least there's one sane person there.
This is confusing. No, that's not usually something you would say about me.
First of all, the movie was a giant success, partially because of the tragedy that surrounds it. But watching it again 30 years later, it doesn't have that for me when I watch it anymore. I don't think about that. I just think about how fucking incredible he is in the movie. We talked about this at I guess my kid's birthday party.
We're gonna keep going with this, huh?
Kitty and I were like, yeah, he's so good in it and stuff like that. And then Pete's like, I don't like it.
Hey, did you take my voice and record it?
Yep. Yes.
We gotta get a clip of Fred pretending to be you, Pete, and using her "I'm Dad" voice.
I don't like the Crow because I'm my dad.
Yes, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So,
I
Kitty,
I haven't heard a good reason for why this is a good movie.
I feel like we have to go over this a lot, Pete. It's not our job to explain to you why classics are good when you're the outlier. But we will throughout the course of the podcast, obviously.
Yes, okay.
But I would just stunned to know that you don't like it. It's got music that I know you like.
Crows.
It's got crows, which I know you love.
Yeah.
What?
It's a comic book movie,
which I know you love.
These are ticking all my boxes. I don't know. I watched it again. Kitty, you watched it with me, and I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there watching that opening. It's very Sin City-esque before Sin City, very comic book style.
I gave you that.
Is this going to be another case of Pete blames something for doing something before someone else did it because he's seen it before?
No, I was trying to figure out what my problem was with this movie because it was.
You're waiting for us to tell you good reasons because you don't actually have any bad reasons.
No, stay with me here.
All right.
So I watched the opening. I watch them get murdered. I think it's kind of interesting. I'm like, oh, you really don't get to know their characters before they're killed. They're just two people. Mm-hmm. It's just, I'm like, all right, kind of fun. And it's all happening on Devil's Night, the day before Halloween. Everything's on fire, and that's when they get killed. And then he dies, and then it says 1 year later. And I'm sitting there, all right, nothing's on fire. And I'm like, interesting. And then they keep talking about tomorrow. Tomorrow's the big night. Everyone's talking about tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, Brandon Lee's running around killing people. And I'm sitting there going, this is 1 year later. Everything should be on fire because that's Devil's Night. But it's not Devil's Night but it said 1 year later.
I'm sorry, your complaint with the movie is that it's 364 days later?
But
and they use the terminology a year.
It said 1 year later, correct. Because they flat out said, Brian, later in the movie, tomorrow night's Devil's Night, time for us to get ready. And I'm like, I'm done.
What if it was a leap year? So it was actually 365 days later, but it was 1 day off.
I don't think that's how that works.
It does.
That's not a year.
Yeah,
it would have said one leap year later.
No, that's not what they would have said.
Yes, it is.
No. Keep in mind, he's having timeline issues with this movie, but reads all kinds of comic books where people die and come back and die and come back and die. And you're like, yesterday is tomorrow. Tomorrow is yesterday. Today's 0 day.
He still
like
thinks
everyone's dead. Oh, we're back.
He still thinks there's 8 days a week because of the Beatles. They screwed him up for life.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Anyway,
what's the 8th day?
Like, that's his gripe against the movie. Is
and you know what? That was my gripe 30 years ago. No, 30 years ago, that was my gripe. And it turns out that was my gripe again this time because it jumped out and it bothered me. And it still bothers me.
I feel so bad for you sat next to him going, but it's only 364 days later.
Well, I was talking to our foreign correspondent, and he surprisingly also loves this movie, like all the rest of you weirdos.
No, everyone does.
Everyone likes this movie.
His argument.
It's not like a great movie, but it's iconic.
It's iconic, and I do think that it's a great performance, which you can see a lot of things taken from, including Heath Ledger's Joker. I think you can see a lot of it.
What?
Yeah, Heath Ledger's Joker, Sin City, like the whole
the aesthetic
of the movie. Yeah, the aesthetic. Like, there's a lot of inspiration was pulled. So.
Brandon Lee as the Crow. This is who you're talking about.
You don't think Brandon Lee in the Crow was good?
I didn't think he was that good.
Oh, I disagree 1,000%.
I didn't like going back to it. I didn't think he was as good as he was in my head.
Ah, that's
but
right.
He still did a great job.
I'm breaking those kids out of that house.
Okay.
I'm taking them to a Brandon Lee friendly house in Taiwan.
I think what bothered me the most about Brandon Lee was every time they cut to the love scenes.
He was alive?
That's right. There should have been less love scenes. It was really boring because he couldn't do it. He was like, "Oh, wasn't today great? Ho 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 ho. Oh,
no,
I love you so much."
Nobody has any idea what you're talking about.
That's what he did every time. His laugh was fake and it was awful, and I couldn't take it.
You're talking about the 13 seconds of flashback?
There were a lot more than 13 seconds. It was every 13 seconds there was a flashback.
No, he's not even in the major flashback that happens because he's already dead.
What's that flashback? I don't even remember.
The one where he gets killed. The one where they show it at the beginning, that whole opening you're talking about, he's not even in it. And the one where he returns to the apartment the first time, he's not in that either. Those are the body doubles.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
But that doesn't matter because it's not the love scenes. It's when they're trying to establish the love.
What love scenes? It's just flashes of memories of having a life.
There's a flashback of like him having the life, but when he's proposing, and he has her go.
God,
I think that's what he's.
Yeah. How much time do you think this takes up in this movie?
It was seconds.
Yeah, seconds exactly.
Like not even a minute.
They're flashes.
See, but they happened way too frequently. My memory says they happened all the time because that's what sticks out in my head.
I think recording this with Pete was a mistake.
You know what? I think so too.
Look,
and his camera doesn't work because I want to be like mad at him, but it's just a black box.
Yeah.
Look.
Direct your rage at the black box.
These are the reasons why I don't like this movie. I haven't heard a reason why I should like it. It's an iconic performance. Other movies are influenced by it. How is Heath Ledger's Joker influenced by him?
let's return back to why we initially said it. We had all the makings of a movie Pete would love. It has crows.
Mhm.
It's a comic book movie. And what was the other one? Comic book movie, crows.
The music.
The music.
If people like that soundtrack,
You're
like
a people. You like those songs. I know that you like those bands.
I like some of them. I was looking at the soundtrack. I'd like about half.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I'm sorry, guys. This movie is just another failure. I don't like it. I didn't like it then. I didn't like it now. It was all right, though. There's a lot of
This is a
crows.
serious outlier for me. Like, there's lots of movies Pete likes that I don't like, but he's pretty much okay with all the movies I like. Like, I don't expect him to love, like, Pitch Perfect or whatever.
Pitch
but
Perfect
he
is
enjoys
awesome.
it.
Pitch Perfect is awesome.
It is. I was trying to pick out one.
Well, you
Right.
picked the wrong
French
one,
Kiss.
sister, because me, him, and Tex have sat around for long periods of time talking about how great Pitch Perfect is.
Pitch Perfect is awesome. The second one's good. The third one's garbage.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. But I would still watch a fourth one.
Oh, I would
but-
love a fourth one.
Right.
It'd be their opening day.
You were here on the Scare Value podcast for the opening of Pitch Perfect 4.
We'll watch it. We'll do a watch along. We'll watch the shit out of it. We'll do a sing along.
I will be singing. Fred will have to be a guest on that one, though.
All right, let's
Jeez.
talk about things
let's
that
talk
are good
this.
in the movie. Number one, I think the cast is fucking great. It's got a who's who of people I like that pop up in 90s stuff.
Magic.
Magic.
That was the name of the raven that played the crow in the movie The Crow.
Oh, that's your favorite actor in the movie The Crow?
Yes,
Probably.
it is.
Now, I asked you yesterday when we were in real life, which is funny because now we're not, that I asked you yesterday if the representation of crows was up to a standard that you accepted.
Well, I would like to say first off that they were not crows. They were, in fact, ravens. And that's, I guess, not up to the standards. They're up to raven standards. I got a fact.
Ravens are bigger.
Ravens are bigger. Very good, Kitty. You've been reading the notes I leave all over the house.
No, I just know because I've been to the Tower of London
Mm-hmm.
and they were much bigger than the crows.
But you want to know something funny, Kitty?
No.
No one told the people who made the animatronic crows, so they're American crows. Big difference when you look. Like when it's pecking out her eyeballs, that's clearly a robot crow. When it's just flying around, raven.
Who was that actress?
It's Bai Ling.
It's Bai Ling? Really?
Bai Ling, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
She
Was
looks
that
like
an
younger later on. Like in this movie, she looks really old.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah, I thought
I think she always looks basically the same.
Yeah.
She gets to do a lot of insane roles. This is one of them. She likes
Yeah.
eyes, and then she meets her fate by animatronic crow pecking out her eyes.
The fate served to the worst in the 7th level of hell.
I like her eyes.
Yes, she's crazy.
That was creepy.
Bai Ling's in it. Tony Todd's in this.
Who's
Who?
Tony Todd?
The Candyman.
Who's the Candyman? I don't remember their names.
You've seen Candyman.
Oh, the original one. The Candyman, the guy with the bees and the hook for the hand. I thought one
There
of
you
the
go.
people in this
The
movie in the
scary
gang.
movie?
Oh no, he's the guy that is like wears a suit and is less of a scumbag than the other people in his scumbag club. Because there's some weird people in that club.
The Candyman
I
Club?
don't know which one.
In the bad guys, in
Oh,
the rogues
When they're
gallery.
all around the table, or
Well, just all of them. There's what? Well, let's see. There's Tintin. He's the one with the knives.
Yeah.
There's Fun Boy. He's the one that is getting high with the girl's mom.
the girl's mom.
And then there's T-Bird.
Oh,
who
so he's in that group.
has
right?
yeah, they're all in the group, Top Dollars group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember all these names.
He's the one who's taken up by Ernie Hudson.
I like Ernie Hudson.
Yes, another great actor in this. David Patrick Kelly from Twin Peaks. He plays T-Bird.
Okay, no, let me. At some point, the movie towards the end turns into a buddy cop film.
A little
Where you're
bit.
just-
A little bit.
when they're it's like, oh, apparently I can die. You did need me.
So that's a fun moment, though. That's a fun moment. Where he's like, I thought you couldn't die. He's like, I couldn't. Like, now I can. I don't know. They hurt the crow. Yeah,
It
wait.
was really funny.
Yeah, that didn't make sense either.
It does. They injured the crow. his power is tied to the crow. If they hurt the crow, they hurt him, so he could be.
Yeah.
But he should have been partially healed then, because the crow.
So maybe he was, Pete. A lot of damage was done to him, and he still walked out of there.
Didn't seem to be. And that crow seemed fine. I don't know if you saw it, pecked her eyes out.
Well, that was a animatronic crow, Pete, not a raven.
Yeah,
I don't have to explain birds to you.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Here you go. Pete, were you upset? I asked you this yesterday, too. Were you upset? Is this why you don't like this movie? My theory is because Brandon Lee could see through Crow's eyes, and that's your greatest wish.
No. In fact, that's called Crow Vision. I checked it out in the credits. It was a special camera. They called it Crow Vision. And I'm very excited for it. Hey, guys, I give this movie a 10 out of 10. That's
on
a
the
murder.
crows.
It's a murder, in my opinion. This movie's great. The Crow Vision. They got crows all over. Ravens, even. There's a raven named Magic. It's good stuff.
So now it's a 10 out of 10?
Well, yeah. I mean, the movie's absolute garbage, but crow content, I don't know that I've seen a better film.
You don't? Yeah, this is more crow than you usually get.
I know. It's very exciting. So I'm torn. This has been a tough rewatch, but I like the crows. Don't really care about the people. I think we should have watched The Crow bringing people back and forth from the afterlife. That would have been a pretty cool movie.
It would actually be pretty cool. But
he's like a bus driver.
And this was a good movie. So.
Yeah, you don't like revenge movies, Pete?
I do like revenge movies. His revenge seemed... I don't even know. It was scattered. And the big boss of everyone...
No, it was very focused.
I don't know. It didn't seem focused.
It was very focused to the point where he walks in a room full of people and he only wants the one guy he knows was involved until he finds out that the order came from a different person, and then his list expands.
Yeah.
Like one of the coolest moments, he walks in, he's like, I just want him. Because he doesn't care about these other people at all.
You know what?
He would have gone back to sleep and not killed anyone else if they had just handed that guy over.
Yeah.
And they hated that guy anyway because he was all tweaked out all the time.
Yes, that their little gang looks like a lot of fun to be a part of, to be completely honest with you. Fire it up, fire it up, fire it up, fire it up. When he's giving his speech about what happened to Top Dollar, and Top Dollar's just sitting there like enjoying the show of him losing his mind. It's like, there was a guy, man, you couldn't believe this. He's like dancing around the room and he's just like looking at him like, okay.
They were an exciting group, and they were supportive of each other, and were super, super pumped up all the time. Except they were a day early, despite what the narrator told us.
Oh my god!
Although
I feel like he's deliberately saying he doesn't, like, trying to find, desperately scraggling for reasons not to like this movie, because he's got one thing. There's one thing that he doesn't like, and that's it.
There's one thing I didn't like too. I don't like crows.
Ooh, that's tough.
Oh, you must hate this movie.
Yeah.
So we're coming at this from opposite ends.
Your only thing you liked about it was the crow,
right?
I don't like Ernie Hudson.
Whoa.
Ooh, that was a weird left field blow to Ernie Hudson. I thought he was an innocent bystander.
Not since Ken came on with Opinions of Sigourney Weaver have we had such a random attack.
No. I actually really like Ernie Hudson.
Who doesn't? Yeah,
I'm
who
just
doesn't
like,
Ernie
let's
Hudson?
pick something random we don't like. Or, that's basically what Pete's doing. He's picking one little...
It's not one little thing. I'm telling you, Kitty. I didn't see any of
Nothing else
this.
you've been able to vocalize that you didn't like.
Pete, what would this movie be rated if it came up with the words "nearly 1 year later" at the beginning?
I think I would have been able to pay more attention to the movie, because I do believe I missed all of these things you guys are talking about because I was trying to figure out the time.
What if it started with the words "nearly 1 year later" and then cut to a guy going, "Oh, better get that lighter fluid ready"?
What if they said 12 months later?
I guess even
would that be okay?
Even that might be better. The point I kept trying to bring up earlier was Ken Barnes, our foreign correspondent. When I was speaking to him about this as a fan of the movie, he argued that it was, in fact, 1 year later, and the narrator was right, or the text was right, and that these people were so drugged up all the time that they got the date wrong. And it was, in fact, Devil's Night, but they screwed up because they were all on drugs.
I just like that there's a human being on the other side of the world who also has to waste his time trying to make you okay with complete nonsense to get you down.
Well, look, what he said is the only thing that's made any kind of sense so far, this whole debacle. Whatever you guys are saying hasn't made me like this movie anymore.
There weren't even any scary boobs in this movie, honey.
That's right.
That is true.
Well, what about the dead girl? Didn't she get? Isn't there boobs there? I don't remember.
I think he got startled.
I think I did actually.
Now it's starting to come together.
I
get startled by some boobs.
Well, one time I got scared by him.
But it was legendary. It was amazing.
Also, that other time when Kitty jumped out at me in the kitchen, I was not ready.
I did?
Yeah.
He might have been dreaming that.
No, you were just walking by. You had clothes on. I just was not ready. My eyes were at boob level, and they walked past the doorway, and I screamed.
I think I flashed him, though. Post this... to
see if it would happen.
To see if he would scream. He did.
Yeah.
He was like, no!
You know what you should tell him is that's the last time he's seeing them until 1 year later, and then see if he gets mad in 364 days when you do it again. See if his fucking Rain Man brain works that way.
Would I get mad or scared? That's the thing I'm wondering about.
Well, they'd be a surprise because you'd be counting down the days. God knows.
Either way,
I would only know if Kitty announced it first. She said it's exactly 1 year later. Like, 1 year from what? And then
he wouldn't even remember.
Well, part of the other reason that we wanted to cover this is because the remake is coming, and they're using the same characters, which is
on air changed my mind.
About
the movie. You saw me do it.
Did you see the trailer yet?
No, why'd they do that? No, I haven't seen the trailer yet.
You're doing yourself a real favor not watching it, because the trailer makes me kind of angry. Even just like...
Really? I do have to watch it, because otherwise I would walk in, because I'm like, it's The Crow, I'm going to walk in blind and watch this movie, and it's going to be awesome, and it would disappoint me. So now I'll just wait until you buy it.
Speaking of which, because this is very topical, because this podcast is actually only coming out in a couple of days, Godzilla -1 finally available.
I know, on Netflix.
And I bought it in the black and white version on the Vudu, so you can pop that in whenever. And the Netflix version has an English dub if you want to show it to your kid who said you'd like to watch it, but he can't read the Japanese. There's an English dub, so...
I might watch the English dub.
No.
Because I don't...
I'm sure the English dub is terrible. There's not a lot of talking in the movie. You can get by very easily without it. I don't think a kid can, but I think you'll get by very easily with it because it's not a ton of talking. But I'm sure the English dub is terrible, but for a kid, I think they'll enjoy it.
Pete, I'll watch it with you, undubbed, if you tell me when to look up and read things.
What? I don't even understand.
I'm not paying attention for the whole movie. I will watch it.
We should invent
I get
something.
fixated on my phone, and then I watch for a little bit, and then I look at my phone. It's really hard for me to focus on one thing.
We need to invent an app that just runs in time with whatever foreign movie you're watching, all the subtitles on the device you're watching, so you can play whatever you're playing, but the subtitles will still be there.
Like on my phone instead.
Yes. They'll just keep coming across like, oh, something big's happening. I better look up.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I need. Because a lot of the time, it's when people are talking that there's not a lot of action going on in a movie. So, it's not that interesting to watch.
I enjoy a good revenge movie. And this one... I love the Eric Draven character so much. I enjoy the simplicity of it. I know you're mad that funnily, the only movie Pete's ever seen where he wished it was longer, I guess, and there was more backstory.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're telling us?
I don't know what I'm telling you. I just think the focus maybe was in the wrong place.
The focus was solely on, I'm going to kill everybody that murdered my fiance.
Well, there was a little bit of a story behind, too, where the younger girl... Sarah. Nobody took care of her except for Eric and girlfriend. Can't remember her name.
The cop kind of did. The cop
did after.
Yeah.
She was murdered and he was murdered. Then Ernie Hudson was taking care of her a bit.
I enjoyed Eric Draven's relationship with the cop because it's like if Gordon was on desk duty. He's got his Commissioner Gordon, but he's also busted down to beat cop.
Yeah. Busted way down. And he keeps getting busted down more for doing his job.
He's demoted during the movie. And he's already clearly been demoted before the movie. But because he's effective, he gets too much done.
He knows how to do his job.
That's right.
Yeah. And then they're like, go away. You're on my crime scene. And he's like, I just saw the murderer run away. And they're like, you're demoted now.
Yeah. No thoughts on that one, Pete?
I like Ernie Hudson too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This would have been only 10 years after Ghostbusters.
Very 90s. It's got a super 90s
Yes,
feel
it's the
to
most
it.
90s movie. It's like they watched Tim Burton's Batman and said, what if it was just chaos all the time because there was no Batman here? And then Batman gets pulled out of the grave and is like, oh, no, I'm a murderer.
But he's only going for vengeance for himself. And then he's going back to sleep or dying. Those are his two options. He can't stay.
The original ending of the movie, I believe, was completely the opposite of that, where he was going to, he had to use like the last of his powers to like cure or help Sarah, the kid, like bring her back. So he had to wander the earth, never get back to Shelley, and then stay of vengeance fighting, which is a fine ending because there's supposed to be more than one movie, but there's a good reason that there wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, that's the elephant in the room whenever we talk about the movie is that he died on set, shot by a prop gun by the guy that plays Fun Boy.
How did that guy work out after that? That seems pretty awful to have done and gone through.
Yeah, he said that he'd never get over it. He never really talked about it a lot. He just said it's like he never gets over it, and he died recently-ish.
Ooh.
Yeah,
well, you would know.
I would know. I would know.
You know everyone who's dead.
I do know that. I know that. And
you're
everybody thinks it happened in the wrong place. They think it happened in the scene where he confronts him in the apartment and he gets shot like straight on. That happens in the movie. It actually happens in the flashback that you see where how he gets killed by the gang. They reshot it because they didn't want any of that footage in there. So he gets killed by a knife, I think, instead gets stabbed by a knife thrown at him instead of a gunshot. And it's just a body double because they were like, well, we can't use any of that footage. We don't even want the stuff before he was shot. We're not using any of it. So that whole thing was
like legally, I don't know if you could even use it because.
Well, it took a long time to finish the movie, not because of that, because they didn't know what to do. But they really wanted to get it finished the director really wanted to get it finished for the performance that he gave. And he's still out there now, just like really upset that they're using the characters again. Because like you could use different characters. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're right. And his fiance too. She wanted the movie finished for him. So I found that out like on this rewatch. I was like, oh, that's cool, because it said dedicated to Brandon and then
Eliza,
yeah.
You were
they
saying
weren't
something?
Even married yet.
No, it was very similar to the Eric Draven character. They were about to be married. They were going to be married when the movie was over. They were going to be married like right after the Devil's Night, and then they got murdered and he got shot. It's very much the same.
So he got too into his role, just like
he's
just like Heath Ledger did for the Joker. I see now why you said that this was an influence.
That was in poor taste, Peter.
I know. I'm gonna leave it in, but I'm also gonna make sure I amplify it, so it's the loudest piece of the podcast. And I'm gonna make it the headline. It's gonna say Pete says Brandon Lee, method actor. waiting for Crow to bring him back.
Oi.
That's it, Pete.
I don't know how to respond to that.
That was where you could have defended yourself.
There's no defense to that. I'm like, that's fair. It's fair. I was thinking about my crows in the neighborhood and what they're up to, and I wonder if they've brought any souls back. They haven't brought me any coins or bills like I've been asking them to.
Fred screamed out the car window today for the crows to stop following her.
I do that when I'm at your house too.
Daisy, stop following me.
Look, guys, the crows are cool. You guys love this movie, but you don't like it when they're hanging around your house, pooping on everything, killing baby rabbits.
I don't care about the crows. I mean, I did not enjoy the raw meat you left out. As long as you got rid of it. Did you clean that up?
Somebody cleaned it up. I assume a crow or a rat.
I like how Tintin with his knives, he gets killed by his knives, and T-Bird, who clearly likes cars, gets killed in his car. These are dramatic irony deaths.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
I know you didn't.
The other guy that's got the tweaker problem, that's always doing a lot of drugs, he gets killed.
Michael Massey. Yeah. The guy, yeah. That's Fun Boy.
Fun boy. Yeah, he gets
Yep.
killed. He gets injected with.
And biling in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And Top Dollar. And his fear of rooftops, I guess. I don't know. That one actually didn't work out, but he wasn't there, so.
He wasn't there, so it didn't really matter. Maybe.
That's right.
Oh, did he fall off the rooftop?
He got thrown off.
Just like Shredder.
And that's how Eric died.
That's true. Look at that, Pete. What do you think about that, Pete?
It doesn't change the fact.
Sense. What?
How about the fact that that Tony Todd shoots the crow and then he himself gets shot to death?
There's some things.
These are all things that I missed because I was still just taken aback by that poor choice of time that they chose to put on there at the very beginning of the film.
He's missing the nuances because he's sitting there with a calendar.
They're not even that nuanced. And I mean, these are things me and you are realizing
I know.
now.
Honest to God, I really was thrown by it. And that's what I was thrown by the first time I saw it. I realized it watching it the second time. That really messed with me and I didn't like it.
I always knew the Biling one and I always knew the T-Bird and the Tintin ones, but I never really put together the other three.
Yeah. And just here today, we did it.
Yeah. Does that help, Pete?
No.
If only it had been done one day later.
You know what? Maybe in 30 years, if we watch it again, I'll try to keep all that in mind as I sit through it. Hopefully.
If we watch it again, we're not... Well, no, we'll have to... Yeah. We'll have to include him if we watch it again on a podcast.
Oh, he's not going to live 30 years.
You,
I hope
me
he
or
does.
Brandon Lee?
Wait, 30 years? I'm not going to live 30 years. I was thinking 10 years.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Or 20 years for the 50th.
We'll
Those are all good numbers, yeah.
Yeah, they're all good numbers.
Oh, wait. But we have to watch it 49 years then, just to make people really fucking angry about it.
That would make me angry.
Well, so let's just watch it in 9 years.
You know what? In fact...
That's realistic.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to say right now that because it's going to make Pete angry, we're going to do a Jaws watch-along for the 49th anniversary instead of the 50th.
Well, if you announce it first and you call it the 50th, then apparently it might bother me. If you're trying to tell me a story with nuances and characters I should care about and fun stuff happening, you shouldn't do that.
Is it the 50th this year or for Jaws? Or?
No, it's the 49th.
This is the 49th?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that. That would be ridiculous.
I think I would. I think I might. So, Pete, you didn't like the soundtrack? You didn't like half of it?
I didn't like half of it. I don't know. It's that incessantly gloomy kind of 90s like metal-y music. The goth side. I apparently really don't care for the whole idea of goth.
Good thing
I like smiley faces and rainbows.
The thing is, except for Eric Draven, who has every right to be, the characters in this aren't depressed. They aren't like, that side of the goth. Bai Ling's the most goth-looking person in the movie, and she's thrilled to be Bai Ling.
Yeah, she is. She's great.
She's a perfect Bai Ling.
What's the fun boy, the mafia, whatever guy? He's pretty goth-looking because he looks like a
Top Dollar
vampire. Yeah, he looks like he's...
He was the cameraman in Nope.
Which? Oh, that's awesome to know. He looks like the vampire from the vampire movies with Brad Pitt.
Yes.
That you love. Anyway, so you should have been okay with that.
Wasn't that Antonio Banderas?
It was Antonio Banderas. He played Armand the vampire.
A lot of sexy men in that movie.
Which movie?
Brad Pitt, Antonio Banderas.
Was it Vampire Diaries?
Stephen Ray.
Stephen Ray, definitely. Christian Slater.
Oh, Christian Slater. I forgot about him.
Who was supposed to be played by River Phoenix, but...
Is he dead?
He died outside the Viper Room before shooting. And Tom Cruise, who some people like, some people don't. He is short. He was good in that movie, though.
He was good in the movie, yeah.
I know it's not accurate to the novel, but his performance is super fun.
I'm
very out of character for him.
Not read those books.
No, there's no way. He stands on them though for his auditions. He stands on them for his auditions. Well, the biggest song was that Stone Temple Pilots song. It was everywhere in 1994.
Which one was it? Big Empty?
Yeah.
Okay, it was everywhere that summer.
How's it go, Pete?
I don't remember. Conversation. That's all I got.
Okay. I
That was
still don't
pretty
know
good.
the song.
I think that might have been it. They have another song
did
that
not
sounds
pick
just
up
like
what-
it.
And I've seen them in concert, and I still don't know what that was.
I have two. Which one did you go to? Did you go to the UB one?
Darien Lake, I think.
Darien Lake was it the Darien Lake one too?
Yeah. We might
Yeah.
have been there together.
No, I don't think so.
Not just, no, because like Costler went.
Yeah, they did,
And-
but I had to go. I was dragged there with someone else.
Ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, and I don't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, so I was.
They were terrible. STP
They were
blew them out of
terrible.
the water.
Fishbone blew them out of the water.
They did actually, and
I know, and I've never heard. I mean, I heard Fishbone before, but like they were really fun live. And
yeah,
it's
they
still-
were fun.
Yeah, and Stone Temple Pilots comes out, and they're just like maybe the best performance I've ever seen live.
One of them.
Yeah, and then Red Hot Chili Peppers just comes out and just like we're gonna be boring as shit, and I was just like, I already didn't like you coming in, and you've just made it 10 times worse. You got
I
blown
saw
off the
Nine Inch
stage.
Nails in concert, and that was fucking amazing.
That was good.
They were on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Pete, what's the best concert you ever went to? Was it the STP one?
It might have. I liked Pearl
At
Jam.
UB.
Yeah,
He
UB.
likes that one.
It was
That was-
really good.
Only because they're such a great live band.
Unbelievable live band, and you wouldn't know it. I mean, I was a fan of theirs. Fine, I like their music videos. Fine, like I like Big Empty.
With them.
No,
Yeah.
but they weren't like I didn't seek them out. I just didn't turn them off the radio. And then I saw them live, and I was like, "Holy fuck, this guy's like the biggest rock star in the whole world."
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And Red Hot Chili Peppers were
Terrible.
Terrible.
I was,
Really bad. Like they came on late, right?
yeah.
And
There's no
Jeez,
energy
now
in their
we're-
performance at all.
yeah, like it was like they were too high to.
The next day, I
Perform.
was at work, and I was delivering pizzas, and I heard Flea on the radio in Toronto because their show was in Toronto, bad mouthing the Buffalo crowd for being so bad. And I was like, "You fucking sucked." I was
Yeah.
yelling at the radio, like, "Why did you take Stone Temple Pilots with you when they're going to blow you off stage every night because you have
Yeah.
none of their ability?"
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So the.
But people, when we see them in concert, they play Big Empty. They love it. They love this song.
Yeah.
It's very synonymous with The Crow. And they did. I think this was one of the big hits they did on Unplugged.
Yeah,
Remember that show
I didn't
Unplugged?
have
Yeah,
that MTV Unplugged. I didn't have.
yeah, that was their big one. It was right at that time, right at the same time, '94. This is probably the peak of the band.
Now, was
Hey,
the
listeners, I didn't have cable until I was in college. So if I say I don't know what that was or I didn't have it, it's very literal.
was the soundtrack, or I'm sorry, was this movie a hit? I don't remember it being big. I remember the
It was.
soundtrack. It was big. Okay,
The soundtrack was gigantic.
huge, right? I feel that was what I remember most about this movie.
The movie itself was surprisingly successful, except I think a lot of it's because of the death, obviously. But
Yeah.
it cost $23 million, and it made almost $100 million in '94.
That
In
is a
94.
success.
It was a
So-
huge success, which is why they
That's
kept trying to make more, but they were smart enough to at least not just recast the character until now.
I mean, it does, yeah. With the new one, that's really starting to bug me. It's like, yeah, definitely, it's a comic book movie, right? The original Crow movie, it's a comic book movie. Like any comic book movies, there's a million itinerations of whatever character you pick. Captain America, even Superman. Like, there's a million different ones.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to redo this movie. You could have made better choices and made more interesting choices.
What's so weird about
Is
it, too,
this a
is that-
straight remake?
well, this is what I'm
Seems
talking
to
about.
be.
It's taken the characters, the same Shelley and Eric Draven, except now I think they're meth heads. And you're going to be happy, Pete, because there's a lot more backstory in there. Because the whole trailer is filled with more scenes than you get in the entire movie of them together. Oh, now you don't like that?
No, that's the wrong part
Not
of the
if
story
it's
that they
romance.
focused on.
But it takes it out of the 90s aesthetic that's so interesting in this movie, or at least unique to this movie. I'm not saying it's good. It's just like it's a warped
It's unique.
Gotham. And it puts it into, it looks like a John Wick movie. And I don't like any of that. I don't like any of that aesthetic at all for this character. And there's such an emotional attachment to the character that I just don't understand why you want to bring that up.
Recreate it.
Yeah.
Like, why are you
It's-
recreating the wheel with this one?
People are going to be inherently angry at it because it's just like, no, that's Brandon Lee's the Crow. Like, there's plenty of other Crows. Be anything, and nobody would be mad. I like it's creepy Skarsgård. I think he's a good actor. I think he could probably be really good in the movie. I don't want to see him as Brandon Lee's Crow.
I just listened to the podcast, last week's release with the summer movies, summer horror movies. And I'm like, we're trying to get through all the Skarsgårds. And I'm like, oh my God, there's 8 of them. We're trying to nickname them all.
They nicknamed themselves, Kitty.
They do nickname themselves.
They did. They nicknamed themselves. I think there's a girl Skarsgård is what you said. Sorry, Pete.
I wasn't saying anything. But now, since you're all asking me questions, is there anything else you have to say about the Crow?
Oh, because there's a little bit more, but I'm gonna get you to your 2. You have 2 bits that you do.
I have 2.
So if we hold them both to the end, it just seems
it's Nick Cage time.
I haven't heard about Nicolas Cage, and I got only a snippet of credit check.
You knew it was time for Nick Cage. I've been very quiet. As near as my research can tell me, Nicolas Cage, the actor, owns 3 pets right now. I don't know. It should be a quiz. Do you guys want to guess what the pets are? Or you want me to just tell you?
I'm going to guess.
Okay.
We'll take turns. Kitty can go first. I will go second. Kitty go third.
All right. So I guess this is a Cage quiz hotshot.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say parakeet.
Okay.
I'm going to say a Warwick Davis.
All right. I see. So far, you have not named a pet.
Well, no, yeah, you haven't. You technically can't name people.
No, I mean, you haven't named a pet owned by Nicolas Cage.
We haven't yet?
Nope.
Okay.
Bring it over.
Pig.
We're as we know, then we're both at =0 with very fair guesses each.
Yeah, okay. So my next guess is teacup pig.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. I'm going to go with a crow.
Brian, how did you know? He owns a crow named Hugin. He also owns 2 cats, but that's not new.
No, you just ruined it. I was going to keep guessing weird animals.
I'm
There
sorry.
was 2. I was also going to circle back to Warwick Davis.
You messed up your own quiz.
He got it. It wasn't a quiz. First off, it was just Nick Cage news, but I got excited by the fact that it could become a Cage quiz.
Yeah, you said now it's a Cage quiz,
Yes.
and you didn't. You just
You got it right. I don't care about the cats. It's Hugin the crow. That's the only thing that matters. Do you know that when the crow, like when Nick Cage leaves the room, he says bye, and the crow says ass? Did you know that? Because it's true.
Well, we didn't know he owned a crow, so
Brian did.
I don't think you know how guessing works.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Are we done with Nick Cage news?
You know what? It was an on topic Cage update.
It
You got to
was.
give it something.
I think this is the first time ever.
Yep.
they've always
It's
been
on
on topic.
Now give us your credit check.
It's credit check time already? Oh
Well,
boy.
That's usually at the end of the podcast. Are we?
I think
we'll wrap it up with some stuff after, but
I think we're wrapping up. I got my credit check. It was a lot of soundtrack stuff on this credit check, a lot of stuntmen. Okay. Well, now, I already told you about the crow vision because that's exciting. Mm-hmm. Most important thing here, there was a crow wrangler. And I understand that it was ravens on set, but I mean, there was a crow wrangler named Gary Giro, and I think that's a pretty cool job to have. And I think we should give him props.
Gary Gergich?
No.
That man has the largest penis I've ever seen.
And also, I want you guys, I was looking for the animals not being harmed at the end of these movies, because sometimes they don't put it there, or sometimes they make up their words for safe or how they treat their animals. Mm-hmm. But this one, listen to this. This one is a piece of art and how animals should be treated, because this is how you treat a crow. Everyone else who works with animals should take notes. The animals used in this motion picture were in no way mistreated, and all scenes in which they appeared were under strict supervision with the utmost concern for their handling.
I wish they'd have taken half that concern with the human characters in the movie.
Ooh, that probably would have helped. Could have gotten that sequel sooner.
Man, oh my God.
I'm just saying that they lost their certification on no humans were harmed in the making of this movie.
That must be why they doubled down on the crows.
Certification that says that?
No, they've never had one. But
should they start?
Well, I don't mind if you slap an actor around a little bit.
As long as the crows are okay.
Yeah, humans can take it. Don't be messing with those animals, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that, part of the reason that the movie lives on mythologically forever is that people people think that this would have been the breakout role for Brandon Lee, and I don't think it would have made $100 million if he had lived. I don't think it would have made that much. It did touch a cultural, touchstone at the chord at the time. I think even because of the music too. So there was other reasons besides his death that helped the movie a lot. The music was the best marketing you could have had. Do you think this would have been a breakout role? Because I think they definitely would have at least had a successful sequel to it.
Had he done anything else before this?
He had done like B-level action movies, and this was really being looked at as a vehicle for him that could be, because he's fun in it, he's funny in it, he has charm in it that he didn't get to show in those, muscly 80s type movies. Everybody wanted him in action movies because he's Bruce Lee's son.
Yeah.
So.
He got to act more. He wasn't just an action star.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could have been. There wasn't an actual, there wasn't a ton of talking in this movie.
No, but I do think that he nails the moments when he's the Crow, when he's in the paint, like when he sees Shelley's death through the cop's eyes and feels the pain. I think he nails that moment of sorrow and pain when he's like, I'm sorry as hell what happened to your girl, and he's just like, yeah, and he walks out. I was like, fuck, that was good acting.
Yeah,
like, I think and he has charisma,
depth. Yeah.
When he's playing the more Joker like elements of the character dancing around and being a little wild, I think he's good at that. And I wonder what he could have been, but I think he was always going to get kind of pigeonholed into action because of his dad. And
he was always going to be an action star, but he could have been like a Bruce Willis-y type action star.
I think he definitely could have been like that. Yeah.
Like that, it's not just running and gunning. It's like there's some actual, comedy or,
and he's
more depth.
He's a really good looking guy with legitimate action chops. So that has to help. But I think that's why he kept getting cast in those types of movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think, Pete?
I'm trying to remember who else was running around in the 90s in that action.
That's the other part of it. I think he missed it by about 8-9 years, where the 80s was overloaded with those kinds of movies. And the 90s really wasn't. It turned more sci-fi and stuff.
Yeah, but I think he would have fit because The Crow it's a springboard. I mean, that is your comic book. That is fantasy. That is sci-fi. That is what everything was leading into. And he'd had a toehold in the door early.
Yeah, but you got to remember, I mean, comic book movies weren't what they are today. Back then.
That's another really good topic to bring up, though. Like, this is a very good comic book movie in an era that, Batman had come out, Batman Returns had come out. Superman movies were way in the past, the good ones. The bad ones were not as far in the past. But, this is pre-Marvel anything. Blade hadn't even come out yet.
No, that's true. And it is a solid comic book movie. I think I need to look at it more in that context.
Yeah, you got to look at it as a comic book movie, and then that might change how you feel about it. Everyone always says that Blade is the first comic book movie that came out.
Well, Marvel.
True comic. And I'm like, actually, it was The Crow. Because, now looking at it, I'm like, yeah. Well, Superman, yeah. But, I mean, when we're talking about comic book characters that were not, widely known by the public. Like, Superman is just Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Known everywhere.
And you have to go all the way to pretty much Guardians of the Galaxy to have another hit, like a big hit that was characters that weren't just A-list characters.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that was a long time later.
What about Swamp Thing? Was he ever A-list?
No. But his movies weren't giant hits either.
What are you talking about?
But he had a TV show.
What would the Stone Temple Pilots song for Swamp Thing be?
I don't know enough of their catalog.
Sing it, Pete.
Swamp Thing, living in my swamp today. I'm cold and damp now. Swamp Thing.
That's
nothing.
Good. We're good.
I'm not going to keep going with this.
Regretted it the moment it started. So the comic,
you gotta pull that and just have it be the start of this episode for absolutely.
That's going to be the start of every episode. We never pick a theme song.
We don't have a theme song.
No, that's going to be the start of every episode.
You got to put that on the site. Just make it available.
And now the one movie we can never cover is Swamp Thing.
But he makes my heart sing.
Yep. So the comic was written by James O'Barr because his own fiance had died. And it was his way of coping with it. And
that's really sad.
It is. So it's just this cycle of, I wrote it because my fiance died. It's a movie about someone's fiance dying, and the actor playing it died before he married his fiance.
This is right in your wheelhouse.
I'm so excited right now that if I stand up, you guys are going to see something on camera that only Pete wants to see.
You're going to knock over your microphone.
Thank you for the compliment. That's going to be a potted plant falling down somewhere.
I wanted to go back. Wait. Oh, shit. I lost it. I had something I wanted to ask you about. The John Wick.
Oh, yeah.
See, John Wick, I felt was kind of like the whole perspective of it was inspired by Sin City. And Sin City, I felt, was inspired by The Crow.
I think these things are all true, yes.
So ultimately, when you're saying the new Crow is being set in a John Wick, it's like it's all going back.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do it, and part of me likes that.
The Crow was inspired by The Crow.
The Crow was inspired by The Crow, but then
it was inspired by his wife dying.
Well, fiance. I do think that you can see, John Wick looks at The Crow and is like, what it's different. Obviously, it's different mechanics. Different. Yeah, but absolutely. It is an unstoppable killing machine, getting vengeance on a lost loved one. It just happens to be a dog, and that's not an original story. Obviously, the story's happened before, but the way that it's presented, I think, is similar to the way The Crow is, except that he doesn't tell jokes and isn't as he's more businesslike than Eric Draven is. But then when you see the trailer for this new Crow, he's very John Wick like. There's no clever moments.
Watch this trailer after we finish recording. I'm watching the trailer.
They could be in the movie. I'm not saying they couldn't be, but there's just moments in here where he's just like talking to these people before he kills them, where I'm like, this guy's awesome. This character is awesome.
Yeah. Wait, which character?
Eric Draven.
Eric Draven in the original Crow. Yes.
Yeah, Brandon Lee's character.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, he's got his mission, but he's going to have fun with it a little bit because fuck him. And I don't see that in the new one. Yeah. The new one just seems to like lean way more into the gothic romance. And it's like, it's all pain. And I'm like, yeah, the pain is there, but like, you got to have some fun with it. Because that's what made The Crow 1994 so good to me, was that he's laughing his ass off down the streets. He's like, I can't be killed, and I'm going to murder every one of you motherfuckers.
Yeah, was he when he realizes he can't be killed, he's like, wee!
When he jumps off that building and lands in that pile of conveniently placed boxes, he is having the time of his life. And he's immediately like, I'm going to go find that knife guy, and I'm going to knife him to death. And like, I wish we had more of him, like plotting, where he's like, I'm going to find that knife guy, and I'm going to like make him throw a knife at me and make him say, I never miss, so that I can be able to like, well, you missed. It's like, this guy's great. Because like, nothing's worse than getting murdered and getting shit talked while it's happening.
Pull the knife out and be like, try again.
Well, the fun thing about him missing is it doesn't matter if he hits him, and he knows that, but he's like, oh, you're going to be this cocky? You're going to miss. And then he catches the one and throws it back. It's so good.
When he gets shot through the hand and he looks through it, I forgot that scene was from there. It is such a great scene in the movie.
That's great. Yeah. And the one where Funboy shoots him in the gut and he turns around and pretends like, oh, I'm in so much pain. Yeah. It's so funny. It's like, this guy's just having a great time. He's like, I got one more day on Earth. It should be tomorrow. I know someone's going to complain about it 30 years from now.
That was the problem. I was distracted by that, trying to figure everything out.
Man, your crows are going to be so mad at you after this. They're not going to talk to you for days.
I gave this a great review.
How about the fact that the crow does pick up a shiny and brings it back to the grave?
At the very end. I know.
You've been waiting for them to bring you something, and they bring the ring back and they give it to Sarah.
They brought me used sparkler sticks before.
Well, that's almost the same thing as an engagement ring for a couple that was thrown out of their building.
If I bend it into a circle, I can pretend that it is.
You make me sad. I feel like I say that to him every podcast.
I know, but then you usually turn to me and be like, you too. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything. Last time you were like, I hate you. And then you just looked me dead in the eyes and went, you too. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I'm just trying to get fucking Haley Mills jokes off here. I don't know why I'm getting called out.
I don't remember that, but okay.
So we actually learned some things today, because for as many times as we've watched The Crow, Kitty and I learned new things not watching The Crow, discussing The Crow. And we learned that Pete has autism, fairly high on the spectrum, and it's not time for Wapner, and he's losing his fucking mind.
That's a Rain Man reference, isn't it?
Yes.
I've only seen that movie one time. I'm surprised I remember that.
I knew what it was in reference to, but had you just said it, I would have just laughed and pretended I understood.
What's the second autism movie? What's the second autism movie?
Is there?
I'm sure there is, but it's not as famous.
Who is
The
Cletus
chess
Tout?
one?
Was there autism in that? I think there was.
I watched the movie. If there was something, no.
Isn't
Oh, wait,
that the
wait,
worst
wait.
movie you've ever seen?
Wait, I think I know a movie that has autism in there. It's The Accountant.
Maybe. Who knows?
God, I think you're right.
I think I'm right. Even though I've only ever seen the last 7 minutes, I think I'm right.
That was
Brian?
my phone, I think.
I've only ever seen the last 7 minutes as well, and I'm fairly certain autism. It was an
I think
autism
they
institute.
were at, yeah.
Yes, I think that's right. So there you go.
So I don't know if I told you. I watched the last 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I have a podcast I listen to, and I, follow on Patreon. So they had like a live show where they're just like shooting the shit with people. And I was like, all right, you guys are fans of wrestling. My friends are fans of wrestling. Have you seen the last 7 minutes of The Accountant? And the one guy's like, yeah, that's a really good movie. And I'm like, maybe.
Yep.
So they didn't know what the science is. So they asked me to send it to them, but I forgot to ask you for it. So they don't have it.
Nice.
I'm good at things like that. But they were like totally on board with it. Whatever it is.
Tell them you're going to get it to them.
The Accountant.
Tell them you're going to get it to them next Devil's Night and then surprise them the day before.
Send it to him tomorrow.
I think you got to lean into this all the way. We're celebrating his birthday now the day before his birthday. You're having your anniversary the day before the anniversary. I just want to see how long until he loses his mind or accepts that years are just getting shorter by a day. And then in 9 years, when he comes back to do the crow, it's coming up real soon.
Yeah, it's this month.
Yep.
Is it?
It's 8 days away.
Yeah, 8 days.
So a week away.
That's 1 week. That's 1 week for Pete. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Did
can't
you
wait.
just blow out your headphones with leaning in?
I think that the 8th day, I think he once told me, was called Peter Day.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm allowed to sleep in as long as I want, and I can eat a big pot of cereal for breakfast.
I think you could do
Christmas,
that
I
anyway.
assume?
Won't?
Yeah. No, he can't. He gets
No,
to
because
listen on the bus.
that's right. Because my kids are there.
Yeah, your kids
That's
are
right.
there,
I
so he's
forgot
got to
about
put
that.
them on the bus. So
And
I'm
I'll-
not waking up to do it. They're not my kids.
How did I have 2 kids when I've only had sex 1 time? Well,
In your life?
Twins.
They were fraternal. One came out 2 years later.
One got stuck.
That can happen, I hear. He got lost.
They didn't know
I
he
don't
was
know.
hiding
I
in
had
there.
no part in this. I just live here.
Didn't know he was hiding in there.
I'm supporting your family, Stabell, and I had no part in how they came about.
There you go.
So that was The Crow.
That was the
That
crow.
was the Crow.
That was 30 years of the crow.
We didn't really talk about the Crow that much.
No, I feel like we did.
We did? Okay.
I feel like crows were brought up a respectful amount.
I know that Pete was a little dark at times, but I'm surprised at how little we talked about Brandon Lee getting shot on the set of this movie, given who we are.
Oh,
You've
Given
had
who
an
you are.
admirable amount of restraint.
I did. But I
Considering
do want to
how much-
reiterate, like, when I watched it this time, it was the first time that I didn't really feel that cloud of it hanging over it. And I really just enjoyed his performance so much. And
It was definitely there in the first time you saw it in the theater.
you couldn't
Oh,
miss
yeah.
it. It was maybe that's
Yeah.
part of why I think the Joker was kind of like that. Because when we watched it for Dark Knight the first time, it's like, holy crap, this is so weird. Because he's given like the performance of his lifetime, and like it's over. It's been over for a
yeah,
year.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it
that
was
does.
palpable when on the first watch where you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. Actually,
Every-
I think I watched it once before I knew that Brandon Lee had died.
Yeah, I remember I saw it at the drive-in, and it was tough to watch the drive-in because the movie was very dark. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a tough one to see everything. And
Hmm.
I just remember watching the movie and like looking for it. Like, this must have been where it happened. This must have been where it happened. And like, that's just what you
I
do.
think that's
Yeah.
why it's like a cult classic too, because people look for it. You know,
Yeah.
even
I
though
learned
you could,
later
like,
where it
Google
was.
it,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah, you
or
couldn't when-
whatever.
You couldn't in 1994.
Not 19, but I think people still do that
I know that they
now.
used
They're like looking for it.
the moment he gets
Watch it.
thrown out of the window and you see him falling down. That's the digital shot. They put a digital face over him.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious to tell when you're looking for it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I like
And
the body double. Just when he never turns around, that's not him.
Yeah, that I mean, also you don't see his face a lot as he's like going. It's just mostly body double.
What do you
Like,
think?
They don't show his
Yeah,
face.
they
at
because
all.
they reshot all that because they didn't want to
Yeah.
use any of the footage of the scene where he ends up dying in real life. What did you think of the aesthetic of the character with the awesome clown face paint and the because he's taking the mask, the tragedy mask, and painting his face with it?
Ugh.
You didn't like that?
I didn't like the origin of it. Like, oh, it's a tragedy.
It was
mask.
a little weird that he was just like, I'm gonna scare you. Like that was kind of weird, but it seems like something.
How about the way
he
it's
would do to
revealed
me.
though, with the lightning flashes when he's in the circle window? Because you don't when he's painting it, you see shadows of it, and then he walks up there and you see and the crow's on his shoulder, which I know Pete loved, and then the lightning flashes.
I did. Brandon Lee had a special relationship with that crow because there were 5 on the set, but that one I think he said something to the effect of, if the crow ever pecked out his eye, he always wanted to be a pirate anyhow.
Wow. He should have said to the
like
crow.
Entirely made up, and it might be your tone of voice.
He should have said to the crow, if anything happens to me, I need you to do me a favor.
And he cries. don't let Bailing hear my face.
You need to come to my grave. 364 days later. This is very specific.
I read this somewhere, but I can't remember where, that you can bring me back.
That's right. That's the crow powers. All right. I think we did. We stayed on topic enough. And again, we avoided some tough ones. More than most.
What do you think of the mom, actually? I'm sorry.
Hot. Back. Wood.
Huh?
Crow boners all day long.
No, just like randomly all of a sudden while watching her boyfriend get murdered, death killed, or whatever he was. Like, what did you think of her all of a sudden turning around and being a great mom?
Well, he squeezed the poison out of her, took all the drugs and milked them out of her.
I like that. That's what I like, that use of his crow powers. That's also something a crow could do. Scott Weiland should have called him and said, listen, I need you to do me a favor.
I need some help. All right. Yeah.
At least bring him back.
That was interesting. I didn't know she wouldn't go through withdrawal because he milked them out of her. Right. So
I also enjoy that she gets cleaned up by the crow powers. She's set straight and she's like, I'm going to try to be a good mom. She tries for less than 1 minute and goes, you know what? This is too hard. Because the kid won't meet me halfway. As if that's the kid's responsibility.
She's not, after years of abuse and neglect, she won't meet me halfway after 30 seconds.
Clearly she's doing a good job. It only takes one more day for her child to be abducted.
Yeah, just the one. And that's not how you know you're a good parent. It's when someone takes your child because you want them.
Also,
good parents.
You're a bad parent and you don't want your child. Nobody else does either.
Good parents raise children that don't remember they're supposed to get off the school bus and circle all the way back to their school.
Fred did it once.
Well, that's once. But she was playing games on her phone, right? That's what we figured out.
I think that's what happened. She was just like, "Oh, I'm still on the bus."
It wasn't a phone, guys. She didn't have a phone yet. That was just a piece of cardboard I drew buttons and numbers on. She used to play with that for hours.
That's my girl.
Don't pretend. She matches you at intelligence. She's a lot smarter than you.
She wishes she was crow smart.
Go get your piece of cardboard and sit in the corner.
Pete, there was a day where I watched her beat you mercilessly at Connect 4, and I think she was 5 years old. But then I was like laughing at you and said, "You try." And I tied her once, and then she beat me 3 times in a row.
Right. And now Pete, I think, practices Connect 4 in the garage by himself because now he always wins.
Oh, wow. I think she just lost interest or got sad that she was beating her dad so much. Because she has no problem beating me.
I don't know, but I'm pretty good at Connect 4, and he's beaten me the last couple times we've played.
Wow.
Don't take that.
Mm-hmm. I've been taking lessons.
I saw your face.
Crow lessons.
I mean, I guess that explains why when I was there last time, the thing was all set up and there hadn't been a kid there in a while. I think he's just like Bobby Fishering this with a book and then doing moves of classic games of Connect 4.
Yes.
The Stansky defense.
That's what he does when he's not working. He
That's right.
plays against himself in Connect 4. Not chess. connect more.
Anything else, guys, that you got on The Crow or making fun of Pete, the two worthwhile topics?
Nope, but I say if you like crows, this movie's worth watching. And also
All right.
90s music, I guess.
Yeah, it makes me want to read the comic books because I never really read them. So
I never read them either. They sound sad.
they do sound sad, but I also haven't finished the Sandman series either, and I still have to work on that. So.
Too many words. I enjoy pictures. Too many words. I've opened one and I was like, wow,
For a
there's
comic
so many.
book?
For too many
For
words for a
Sandman?
comic book. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting take.
I think that's what we got for The Crow. 30th anniversary. Or no, I'm sorry. 29th and 364 days worth of anniversary.
Actually, now that you mention it, let me see when the movie came out on
December 32nd, October 2.
2000.
The movie came out May 13th. The reason that there's a reason that this is stuck where it is. They moved the date of the Crow remake. Had the option of doing it for the 30th anniversary. Had the option of doing it for the Crow remake. They moved the Crow remake to August 23rd. It was supposed to come out this week. And I was like, fuck it. I'm not moving the thing. We're just doing it now.
Oh, for this recording. Okay.
Yes. Because I like to line them up. But I was like, I've already scheduled things out. And I was like, yes, it's not my fault that you can't get your movie out on the 30th anniversary. And you're now putting it out 3 weeks late in the first place. And then you're moving it 3 months. That's your problem.
That sounds bad. Like, that's not going to be good. It's not
no, and
be
it's
a good movie.
No, and again, I like Bill Skarsgård, so he could be creepy with the best of them. I think I read he's going back to do the It Clown in that TV show.
I heard that too, a prequel. Everyone loves a prequel.
I approve. That's a pretty cool thing to have him on there because he's great.
Yeah, and
so hopefully he can bounce back from this disaster of a Crow.
Yeah.
That should be good. It's It's always possible.
It's always possible. It might sneak in. I've shit on a lot of movies that were good, but I wanted to make this Crow. I want to make you buy the new Crow movie, and then have it be the Morbius.
Yes, it's Morbin time. it's Draven time.
It's time for a new Morbin time.
I hope he says it's Draven time at some point. All right. Then we're going to wrap it up. Next week, we're going to have another surprise guest. I don't know why I'd be surprised. I write it in the notes. But a surprise would be if I didn't lead everyone off with Kitty joins Pete and Bryan to discuss The Crow after 30 years. We're going to have Ken, the 4N correspondent, with the top 10 movies of the 2000s, horror movies of the 2000s.
Oh, Jesus. That sounds like a slog.
No, well, thanks for the
the ringing doors.
You want to give everybody a quick review of that Bride of Frankenstein episode again, in case they missed it?
No, I already reviewed it once.
No, you said, "Oh, I was just listening to that one." Then there was deafening silence, and I was like, "Well, I guess I know not to ask a follow up on that one."
What episode was that where I did that?
The summer preview last week's.
Was it?
I think so.
You're like, well, and I'm like, it's the only one I haven't finished.
Well, the funny thing about the top 10 next week is that Ken wanted to do it because he wanted to redo his top 10 because he wasn't happy with it. And I was like, okay. And I looked at mine. I was like, mine's not changing. I was like, so I'll just make another top 10 list. And I said, I'll just do the top 10 since 2000 because all my movies were 87 or earlier. And then Pete's like, he loves that idea. He's going to do it too. And it's like, kind of defeated the purpose he had in the first place, but I'm all for it.
Whatever.
His list, right. I think I looked, had 2 movies that were from the 2000s. So I'm really curious to see if they make the list because I think part of the reason he wanted to redo the list is he didn't want one of those movies on there. So I wonder if it's going to make the top 10 of this list.
Unintentionally.
And Pete, you making a list over there?
Oh, I'm making a list, and I'm checking it twice.
No. Is it a list of Nick Cage things?
Yeah.
It could be. Nick Cage has been up.
He could
a
do
lot
top
these days.
10 Nick Cage movies since the 2000s.
But there's not. He's done like 300 movies since the 2000s.
Okay.
And they're all
in the past 5 years, I guess.
When I look at my list of 10 movies that I have for next week, I think Pete's seen at least 7, probably 8 of them, which is a pretty good ratio.
That's got a benchmark for me.
Yeah. And the other 2, I don't think you have any interest in seeing. So
probably not.
Are children dying?
No, I don't think so. Although, spoiler for the coffee table, it is not what you think it is.
I told her.
Did we talk about this
I
Off
told her
air?
last night
Yeah.
off air.
Yeah.
All right.
That
All
I
right.
shouldn't watch the coffee table movie.
But except I want to point out, I think it's a really good movie. I just don't know how to recommend it to any sane human being that wants to sit there and lose their mind for an hour at the most torturous hour of all time. But it was really well done.
I want to write a horror movie based on a, I don't know, household appliance.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll just call it like the iron.
Just call it Pete.
Yeah. No, because he moves more than your usual household appliance.
He's out there. Yeah, he moves the Connect 4 table in so that he can keep working through his scenarios. All right. I don't think there's any child deaths in any of the movies I have. I just, the two that he hasn't seen, one of which I know he hasn't seen for sure. It's a really good movie. He will watch that one. I know he will. And the other one, no, I think he'd watch both of them. I just think he hasn't gotten around to them. Yeah.
I guess we'll find out next week.
We will find out next week. And our foreign correspondent will be on with movies that probably, I think he'll match up with at least half. Because I think there's some real classics. There's some really easy classics in there. Oh, make sure you tell him, Pete, that Godzilla -1 might be available in Taiwan. I think I tried to look up if it was, and I got yeses, but it was on Twitter, so that doesn't mean it's true.
I think I got a message from him saying that it is right there. I'll have to.
Well,
check.
he should watch it before we record that to see if it makes his top 10. Because spoiler alert, it made my top 10.
What? Why?
I loved it. It was an amazing movie, and I can't wait to watch the English dub and see how bad it is.
No, I can't
did Haunted Swimming Pool? Is that in your top 10?
Yeah, it's 2 through 9. It's 2 through 9. And
I'm saying Godzilla -1.
I was going to save a spot for this Crow remake, but I had we're recording it too early. Godzilla. Yeah, it's actually all 10, and -1 on my list is Godzilla.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap it up.
And then the Crow remake.
And then the Crow remake. Yeah.